Well, I thought there was a new intro.
There is.
I recorded music for a new intro. We'll try it
You're
tomorrow.
wrecking the podcast already, and we just started.
Sorry.
Jesus Christ. This is going to be fun. Hi, friends. Welcome to the show. My name is Dean, and the voice you heard in the background chirping me for doing the wrong intro is my very good friend and co-host, Mr. Lachlan Cross, formerly of the radio, now of the internet and the World Wide Web. Yeah, I'm sure you can. Go ahead.
Can I make an announcement?
100%. Yeah.
Okay. Today's Thursday. We got a really interesting guest on today. We're going to be talking about cults with Breanna Brown, who was in one, born into one.
Who was in one? She was for 26 years, dude. Yeah,
Jesus. Yeah. So this is a crazy story.
And she's awesome. She's
very cool.
She's like a butterfly. She's coming out of the cocoon right now. Woof. That's what she's
very
doing.
cool. Very cool young lady. Now, the thing that I think everybody needs to be aware of is that Dean
You're an alcoholic?
is a little pissy today. You're in a bad mood. And
am I pissy?
Yeah.
I think I am.
Did your girlfriend go home?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm just in a bad mood. I'm just in a bad mood. You know what it was? I got home, haven't seen the kids for a couple days. Boys, men, get home. You walk in the front door, and they unload, right? And you see another one this morning, they unload. And it's like, haven't talked to them. It's like, okay, we got all these problems. We got to update you on all of our problems. And you're like, okay. And then, you know, you get up to a late start this morning. You spend like an hour and a half in traffic, that kind of stuff, which I don't normally do because I've morphed into just a giant baby. Like the pandemic has turned me into one of those guys. It's like, it's a lot of work to go to the store to get milk. I just don't feel like doing it. I'm gonna just buy a cow and just keep it in the backyard and get it fresh out of it. I get annoyed by little things now. I'm trying to work on that. It's like a major problem in my life at the point. Thanks for bringing it up.
Well, I just want people to be aware of it because they're going to see you treating me quite poorly today, which I'm comfortable with. And I want them to be aware of where that's coming from.
Yeah.
Like I already know I'm annoying today. My natural being, which you're used to, may push your buttons, and people are going to tune in. I'll tell you what pissed me off. Yelling at law.
Like you are a tech. You're like we do this like once a month, where like we have a tech issue with a guest, and we're going to introduce our guest coming up. She's lovely. I can't wait to introduce you to her because you need a little bit of this woman in your life. Everybody does. And you're trying to help her with a tech thing. And I'm sitting there smiling at you going, you have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm just waiting for you to be done because you're wasting like 7 minutes of my time trying to go, yeah, what you want to do is sit up straight, turn your head to the side and grab a fork. And I'm like, no, you don't know what you're doing. Anyway,
the tinfoil works on the fork when you wrap it and you hold it up.
Sure it does. Yeah. No, I'm going to turn things around. I'm going to choose my mood. We've got lots of fun stuff to get to. I'm excited, actually, for today's show. We've got a Neuralink dude today, the first guy to ever have the Neuralink chip implanted in his brain. He's been outed, apparently. We've got that video for you. That'll be fun. Elon's strutting around somewhere going, look at me. I implanted a chip into a brain.
It's pretty cool.
Wild. If it's real, it's super cool. I just don't know if it's real. That'll be the problem. Speaking of real,
you know what? Desperately don't want Elon Musk to do anything worthy.
Dude, he's done everything worthy, you know, and I just don't believe you can like kill thousands of monkeys, try it on a human, and it obviously works. Plus, it was just some stupid grainy at-home video. Like if you're gonna show your first neural,
was a little. Yes, I will give you that.
I'll get to it. It's a theory. I'll get to it.
Okay, all right.
And we've got some unbelievable news about Shohei Ohtani today too. Yeah. Richest baseball player in the history of the game, spotless blemish records, 27 years old, signs a $750 million contract with the Dodgers. Oh, he's in Pete Rose trouble today. Like big trouble. Anyway, all that being said, well, his translator's in trouble. They're all in trouble. I mean, it is not good. Without further ado, I want to introduce our first guest today. She comes from your neck of the woods, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
Spruce Grove.
Yeah, Spruce Grove. Nice little
lovely little hamlet to the west of Edmonton.
That's right. Now she makes her home in greater parts of the city of Edmonton. And I came across a tweet this week, as I do. I'm one of them flippers. Yeah. And there are things that trigger me that normally don't trigger other people. Religious stuff triggers me. right? Because of my upbringing in the same cult. That
I've never heard you talk about religion before. This is unique for us.
I'm busting my religion cherry right now. Is what I'm doing. No, I am yeah, dude, you've heard me talk about it 1,000 times.
That was sarcasm, if anybody was wondering what that was. I mean, a lot of people listen to this on the audio version, so they're not seeing the look on my face when I said that out loud.
The big smile, like, you loser. Yeah, I get that. Oh, who's treating who poorly now? You in a bad mood? Do you need some help?
I'm in a good mood. I'm in a good mood.
Okay,
okay.
I'm flipping through Twitter, and I see this tweet that catches my eye. And I'll put this tweet up. I want to show everybody this tweet. It's a great tweet. It's from a lovely lady named Breanna Brown. And she's got a picture of her with like egregiously long hair. She's wearing a crown of roses, 3 beautiful kids, a bun in the oven, in a family photo. And this caught my attention. What Breanna said in this tweet was fascinating to me. I was a trad wife. That is traditional wife. And I'll get to trad wife in a second. We'll let Breanna break this down. Before it was a trend, it was 2017, 25, a sex doll, pregnant, due with baby number 4, prisoner in my house, prepping and serving supper by 5 p.m. with a permanent smile. Sounds like a blast. Kept the children to myself, seen and not heard, cried when I looked at myself in the mirror. It was Breanna Brown. So I tweeted, I'm like, is that really you? Because the profile picture of Breanna is like Cosmo, cool, powerful, and then this contrasting picture of her as a traditional wife in a cult family, in serving for a cult, dressed as an Orthodox Christian cult member, is absolutely spectacular. So I sent Breanna a note. We had this incredible long conversation where she gives me the backstory of her history. She came to the forefront of cult information, specifically in Edmonton. Jesperson interviewed her, and then all of a sudden City TV and CBC did articles on her, and she has become this powerhouse who wants to help people and tell her story, and she joins us to tell her story today. Breanna, how's that for an intro?
You did well. Thank you. Yeah.
Did I get all the things? Cult person, 26 years, powerhouse, wants to tell the story, help other people in this cult. How did I do?
You did well. Yeah, you got it all.
I didn't miss anything? No?
You did not, no.
Okay. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
We're really good. So Breanna, you and I had a chat this week. Go through what made you put that tweet up. Obviously, you've been on a bit of a mission, but what was the name of the cult you were in, first of all? Why don't we start there?
The one I was in was called Word of Life Tabernacle. It is under the umbrella of Branamism. William Branham is the 20th century prophet that we followed and believed in.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't something you joined, obviously.
No, I was born into it. My mom was born into it. I am 3rd generation woman on my mom's side who was born into it. So. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And okay, so you put out that tweet. That tweet is not the same person that's in front of us today.
No, that's not. I like to say that the person you see in those photos, or the photos that I post of my past life, she's dead. She does not exist anymore. She's you can't find her. She's nowhere to be found. She's completely dead.
What's a trad wife? I'm sorry. I'm going to probably ask some stupid questions. I don't know a lot about.
Great question.
Really. A trad wife is like it's a short form for a traditional wife. Cooks, cleans, stays at home. Listens to her husband. It's all trending on TikTok where there are these women who are cooking Oreo cookies from scratch, or, Cinnamon Toast Crunch from scratch. And there's tweets going on, you want to go out and tend to the bison, and women are waking up and they don't want to work for corporate bosses anymore. They want to go out and be one with the dirt. And I'm like, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to Costco and buy a family size box of cereal, and my kids can get the milk from the fridge themselves, because we have no time for this shit.
I like you.
I did it. I was married for 10 and a half years. I got married as soon as I turned 19. I was engaged at 18, and I got pregnant 3 months into my marriage. Birth control was not an option, and I birthed 5 children in 7 years. So I've lived that life. Yeah, it's a good pace. Good pace. I know what that life is. And as much as they put it out on social media and they think it's all glamorous, It's not. And as I said in my tweet, I cried when I looked at myself in the mirror. I hated my life, but I couldn't say anything. You couldn't question anything. And your husbands had the last say over everything that you did. I hated it, but I couldn't say it. So when this life is all coming out and it looks all sparkly and all calming, it's not.
No, that's, I mean, you standing in a field with your family with a crown of roses and everybody real happy. I mean, that looks nice, doesn't it? But nobody knows what's going on the inside. And nobody knows what you're dealing with. But what we're talking about today are Christian cults, and you are in one. Branamism is a sect or a portion of a Christian cult, and there are different versions of them. You're from, and these are, I mean, they go to great lengths to not be heard or seen, right? And separate themselves from society, separate themselves from the world, suburbia, for a bunch of reasons, and we'll get into what those reasons are. But you're born into this cult. You knew nothing other than Branamism and the values that went into that for like 26 years, right? Like, take me through that. You grow up and you think you're part of the chosen ones that are going to heaven, right?
The bride of Christ, yes. So the only ones. So the cult I'm from believe that they are the only ones. Even within the cult of Branamism, they believe they're the only ones. As we talked on Tuesday, the cult I'm from in Sherwood Park, we were known as extremists under the umbrella of Branamism. So I was born in 1992, born into it. It's the only life I knew. The outside world was, hellbound, going to experience the tribulation. I was raised secluded from it. For the first few years of my life, I went to public school. But then in the year 2003, the leader, he shut it all down, and we had to be homeschooled, and we had no TVs. You weren't allowed a smartphone when they came a thing unless you were 18 or unless you were married under 18. We couldn't, as we talked on Tuesday, we couldn't even scroll Pinterest. You're born and raised. Women are to be wives and mothers. From the time you're 5 to 16, you're segregated, boys and girls. And then when you're 16, you're thrown into a group called the Young People Group. And your whole purpose is to find your spouse. There was 3 boys that I was to choose from. I did.
What do you mean? Hold it. What do you mean? There were 3 boys
for you?
Like they said, here's these 3 guys you get to pick from. 3 guys is weirdo Christian Tinder.
Yeah, Christian Tinder. You join the Young People Group with, those who were born in a similar year. So there was 3 that were born the same year that I was, that joined at the same time. Yeah. So, you stick with around your age group. And I ended up marrying my childhood sweetheart. We had liked each other since the time we were 8. Obviously got in a lot of trouble at 8 and liking a boy. I mean, those are stories for another time, but ended up starting into a courtship. It's not called dating. And so you court, you get engaged, and you get married, and it's supposed to be short. So you are not tempted to touch each other. You can, premarital sex, no touching. When you get engaged is the first time you're allowed to hold hands. When you are courting, you have to stay 6 inches apart, and you can never be alone. You have to have a chaperone at all times. And you keep the courtship and engagement short.
Sounds really romantic.
Oh, it is. It's very romantic. And then you get married, and you're thrown into this where you're like, for the first time in your life, you're alone together. And there's no birth control. I had no understanding of a woman's reproductive system. All I knew was that birth control was not an option, and my purpose in life was to bear children. And I was told by the elder that I ended up moving in with when I was 18, what an honor it is to be a carrier of God's children. And so I remember being married, I think it was for like a month, and I was in my living room, and I just started crying. And I was like, what if I can't get pregnant? Like, what if I can't do this? And I remember my now ex-husband said, what are you talking about? Like, we've only been married a month. And I was like, but this is my purpose. Like, this is what I've been raised to do. And then I went on to have 5 kids in 7 years, as I said. So there was really no issues. But that was my life. So I became a mom as soon as I turned 20. I was pregnant at 19, had him when I was 20. My oldest is now turning 12 this year. And I have 5. So they're I'll just say their ages before their birthdays: 11, 9, 8, 6, and 4.
Holy
And
crap.
I am a single mom 24/7 to all 5 of them. I became a single mom 2.5 years ago. And that's what I was raised to do. And I accomplished it. I mean, I wrote on my blog that my life peaked at 20. So when I was kicked out into this world and started to read that, your life is not even beginning when you're 20, I was like, huh?
Slightly encouraged? You're slightly encouraged by that news?
I was like, my life peaked at 20. Like, what else is new? And I started therapy this year, and she's like, you are a toddler in all of this, in life and everything. She's like, you have so much to cover and learn and experience. So when I thought my life was over, it hadn't even begun.
This is fascinating. I have a question. At what point, because you're quite open about the term cult, at what point did you realize what you were in, Breanna?
Great question.
I would say probably 8 to 10 months after we were kicked out, after I started to educate myself. As I told Dean on Tuesday, my ex-husband received a call on a Wednesday in March of 2018, and we were kicked out with no return. I mean, we could have returned.
Why were you kicked out, Breanna?
Because of God's love, dude. God's love is unconditional. You got to kick those people out.
My ex-husband, I don't want to speak on his behalf or anything, but there was an incident that happened, and the cult found out about it and said that they don't do fellowship with a wrongdoer. And so we were kicked out. And it wasn't the first time. I had been kicked out once before due to meeting my mom. I met up with my mom once, who had been kicked out, and I was thrown under the bus in the cult, and they just said that they didn't know what to do with me, so they had kicked me out for a month before this. So this wasn't my first rodeo, so to speak, when it comes to kick out, but this time it was serious. We were kicked out together, and basically when you want to go back, or if you want to go back, you have to go in begging on your feet. There's a whole group of elders and deacons that are in a room. It is absolutely terrifying. It is scary. You hope that you perform right. You cry or don't cry, or what do you do, because you don't know what their response is going to be. But all you know is that this is the life that you have to be a part of. So you'll do anything to get back. But this time when we were kicked out in 2018, I threw an adult tantrum, fake tears. I was just like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And then I snapped out of it real fucking quick. And as Dean said, I do swear. And I just said, you know what? I'm cutting my hair. I went to Pinterest and I found inspiration.
Which you weren't allowed to be. You're not allowed to be on Pinterest in your cult, right?
No, and we weren't allowed to cut our hair. So
Yeah.
the long hair you see in that photo was a symbol of submission to my husband. So women don't cut their hair as a symbol to them. So I had never cut my hair. I had gotten it colored, very natural looking streaks. We weren't allowed to do massive hair changes, but natural change here or there we could do. So I messaged my hairstylist with an inspiration pic that had short hair. And I was like, can you do this? She's like, well, I can, but I'm not, because you can't cut your hair. And I said, no, I'm not a part of it anymore. I want to do this. And then I went to Winners. I had never put jeans on in my entire life. I never shorts, nothing.
This is crazy.
And I just grabbed jeans, didn't know the sizing or anything, went into the fitting rooms, and I slipped my leg into a pair of jeans, and I was like, this is it. This is the woman that I need to become. And I vowed to myself silently after the tantrum that I was going to, from that moment forward, educate myself in what we were a part of and into what is actually happening in the outside world. And I said, no matter what it takes, no matter what the risk is, no matter what I have to lose or who I have to lose, this is what I'm going to do. And it led me to losing everyone that I once loved, including my then husband. It led me to the losing of my day home. It led me to the losing of a relationship with my mom for 2 months. Because when I left, when we were kicked out, I hadn't talked to my mom in years, and she hadn't seen her grandkids.
And you can't be in that religion. Sorry, you can't be unequally yoked. Like there are different aspects of Christian faith, specifically extreme Christian religions, that would qualify as cults because of the preventative nature of, managing your social life. And keep in mind, we'll get to this, what else they manage in your life. But the real tip is to keep people like you, Breanna, away from anybody who might be able to tell you it's a better life out there. Like you need to get out, right?
Well, I mean, as I said on Tuesday, I 100% know it with everything that I am, that if they let, their members actually lean into education and psychology, their entire pyramid scheme would crumble. It would absolutely crumble. No one would be a part of it. And that's why, I mean, the mantra in the cult I come from is education is of the devil. They have their own school building. They wear uniforms. My oldest was in kindergarten there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not a commune, so they don't live there. People in the cult live 3 doors down from me. Like they're everywhere. So, they go to the grocery store. I run into them, but like they have their own school. You're there, twice on Sunday, once on Wednesday. The men go to prayer meeting on a Tuesday. They have their own playground. They have their own like barbecues and everything that you need. They have like a soccer field. They have a skating rink in the winter. Everything that you would usually go to in your own community, they've created there. It's a fenced community, if you want to call it, with 3 layers of barbed wire.
Compound. I believe they call those compounds.
Yeah, a compound. which it was my oldest son is in soccer, and this past summer we had to go and he had to do a little camp, and it was in the field that was right next to the cult. And, while everyone else is on the sidelines, and it's actually, I wrote about it on the blog. It was one of the first blogs I wrote. The sun was shining, everyone's sitting in their chairs as a parent cheering on their kid. And I take a little walk over to the fence. And it was like, the moment I was once on that side looking out at kids at the fence who were looking in from the world on the soccer field. And I would, make fun of them or think to myself, oh my God, they're going to hell. And now I was standing on that side looking in with fresh eyes, with educated eyes as to what was actually happening. I mean, and I have these moments throughout my life, throughout my everyday. And that's why I opened my blog and I write about it and I share it with the world.
Yeah, to connect with people. It's called notamomyblog.ca. Here it is. We'll just put it up here. It's fantastic. Born and raised inside of a religious cult, but at the age of 26, March 2018, found myself kicked out into a terrifying outside world with nothing but a cardboard box of religious trauma, kindergarten supplies. What the fuck happened? I love that you put a swear in there, because if you know anything about the Christian faith, they consider foul language to be a sin. Speaking of sins, the unforgivable sin is unbelief in the Christian faith, because the whole goal is we got to convert you. You got to come with us to heaven so we can get 10%. Or in your case, your cult asked for 15% of your salary, right?
Of every increase that you made. So not even just a salary. So if you sold something, you gave 15%.
Yeah.
So they kept you poor.
Yeah.
And we could never get ahead. And I mean, I told you the story on Tuesday. There was one time I was a 23, mom of 3 and under, and we lived in a 1-bedroom apartment in Edmonton. We had no money, like zero. I think it was even an overdraft, if I'm honest. And I could not breastfeed my babies, and so they needed formula, and we couldn't afford to buy formula, and I didn't know what to do. The cult rejected helping us financially. And like I said, I had not talked to my mom in years because she had been kicked out with my biological dad in 2010. And I called her on the way home from a cult service. And I was crying and I said, I know we don't have a relationship. I know that I haven't talked to you in years, but we have no money and we have no food and I can't feed the babies. And she just said, Bree, meet me at Superstore, 10 minutes. she went and spent like $600 and bought them toys and filled our pantry and fridge and formula. And she promised me from that day forward, she said, I know that you're in the cult. She said, I know all about it because I put you there. And she's like, I know we can't have a relationship, but I will never let my babies or you go hungry. And to this day, she has never wavered from that. But she helped us after like me snubbing her. And when the cult wouldn't, even though I gave them 15%, you know.
How's your relationship with your mom right now?
Amazing.
Good.
It was non-existent. So like when I was kicked out, the first phone call I made was to my mom, and the first thing she said to me was not hello. It was, you've been kicked out, haven't you? And I said, I have been. And from that moment forward, we have been building a relationship from absolutely zero. It's been 6 years now, and we are closer than ever. We call every morning, maybe even 3 times a day. She loves her grandbabies. I never had my grandparents. I never had a relationship with my extended family because they were all in the world. And so to see my kids have a grandma, and I have a stepdad, my mom's partner, and he never had children of his own, and he's come into our lives and just has taken the role of grandpa to 5. I mean, it's not 1, it's not 2, it's 5. And when he had, you know, retirement planned in BC, and he was like, no, I'm now a grandpa. I'm now a stepdad to you. And this is my life. So our relationship, they live 5 minutes from me. I see them every day, if not every day, if we're busy, but typically every day. And, you know, my mom and I have butted heads along the way. When I started my first blog, she was like, I cannot read it. I have to start therapy because the truth started coming out. And it affected her because she was in the cult double the time I was. And through a lot of conversation, through a lot of boundary making, through a lot of like authentic love, unconditional love, we are at an amazing place. And I don't want to cry. I did my makeup, but I honestly can't do my life without my mom. We never got along in the cult. It was my family life. I stayed silent in my family life.
Well, you're told to, right? You were, yeah.
And no feelings, seen and not heard. So my mom and I didn't have a relationship. I wasn't close with her growing up. And now, I mean, we are closer than ever. We cry together, we laugh together, we get mad at each other. we hang up the phone sometimes, you know, mother and daughter relationship. Natural. And it's just, in 6 years, we've come so far. And I honestly cannot. My mom lost her mom when I was only 5 when my grandma passed away. And my grandpa died when I wasn't even born. My mom was only 16. So I don't know my grandparents. So to see her with her grandbabies is something I will never tire of. She loves them to pieces, and to have this where we couldn't have it in the cult. There's no words to describe how happy and how I don't want to use the word spoiled, but it's just, and I hate the word freedom, but it is
grateful.
Yeah, I am beyond grateful. Like, grateful just does not seem
incredibly grateful. Yeah. Super duper grateful.
Yeah, it's just, you know, I love life. When people ask me, you know, when there's so much going on in the world that is awful and, you know, horrific, and I speak out about those things too. But my passion for life is because I survived hell.
Can I just pop in here for a second?
Yeah.
Breanna Brown is our guest. Notamommyblog.ca is the name of her blog. I come from a very similar background as you, not as extreme. Christian and Missionary Alliance, evangelical Christians, Rapture, heads up, 10% tithe, look out, give us all your money. Unforgivable sin is not converting. So the not converted are of the devil. You cannot communicate with them. You can't be unequally yoked, meaning you can't date anybody who is a non-believer. You can't have premarital sex. Your genitals have to be blessed prior to your union, which is also
hold
very
on. What's
strange.
that?
So they pray
slap
for
it
your
around,
sex life.
throw some water on it?
They didn't touch my dinger.
No,
no, they didn't. So like I come from and listen, this is Brianna's story, but I'm identifying with you, and you touched on something, which is that insulated version of yourself that was living this life in a cult, that was supposed to be loving, that was supposed to be, free of the burden common to man in the secular world. It's nothing but bad there, right? All those things. Then you get out of the cult, or in my case, I leave private Christian high school and I go to university, and someone's like, have a cocktail. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
And Fat Dean was born.
Hey, let's go. Have a cocktail. Yeah, let's go. Go to the party. Yeah, premarital sex. Not bad. It's actually pretty fun. I quite enjoy it. And then you start, and then there's this moment for people, and yours happened at a different age, but there's a moment where you're like, hey, listen, none of that shit made any sense. And the people in this world are so much nicer than the people in that world.
Yeah.
And by the way, they don't take my inventory, judge me, and I've got nobody to live up to. And there's no such thing as an unforgivable sin. And they accept me for who I am with all my foibles. And they want to help me, and they want to have a relationship with me. And they want to. And this is the big difference, Mr. Lachlan Cross, and Brianna Brown can attest to this. They want me to enjoy this life experience, not feel like I'm persecuted, or if I'm not persecuted, or if I'm not living oppressed, I'm not doing my job on this earth.
You're not condemned. Condemnation was terrifying. I mean, look, I'm even wearing earrings. I'm wearing makeup. I'm not wearing them right now, but I have cat eye glasses. I'm wearing pants. I never wore pants in my entire life.
What was it like watching? Can I ask you a question? What was it like watching porn for the first time?
I don't watch it.
I know you don't, but like because I remember I remember no word of a lie.
But if you're talking about movies, with sex scenes, it was terrifying.
Yeah, you felt like you were committing a sin watching it, didn't you? You felt like you were.
Yeah, I mean,
I sought it out on a regular basis.
The firsts are terrifying. Like I told you, and I'm going to write about it. The first time I walked into a movie theater after we were kicked out of the cult, I thought I was going to murder everybody in it because God was going to strike it with a lightning bolt and kill all of us. And it was because I was not a child of God anymore, and I had been kicked out.
What movie was it? What movie?
It was Deadpool. So I'm
that is a great first movie to come right out of the cult.
That's a great first movie. You need to write about that, Brianna.
I am. And, my title of it is while Ryan Reynolds was making men and women drool, he turned me into a murderer. That's my title of it, because that's the honest to God truth. Sleeping at night, I would wake up screaming. I would have night sweats. Going to a store and the panic of running into someone that was there was terrifying. We would schedule grocery shops and our shopping either on a Sunday when they were in the cult, or on a Wednesday when they were there, or when we would know that they were doing something because we didn't want to see them. It was absolutely scary. The firsts are terrifying, and that's why I want to help people. And when I had my first blog, I was receiving hundreds of emails and messages that would say,
really,
you are helping me live. I've been out of the cult or a religion for 25 years, and I've never lived a day in my life. You are showing me that I can live and not just survive. And that's my whole message, is there's a whole life to be lived out here, not just survive. And I want to help others do that.
It must be disappointing, Brianna, now that the kids are out of the cult. They're growing horns now?
My devils, my little devils.
Yeah. Do they have trouble?
They probably have 2 pairs each, honestly. The thing that I've stopped generational trauma when it comes to parenting my children. The cult way of parenting is very abusive. So coming out of that, and
can you quantify that? Can you quantify that point? Because listen, and I know where you're going to go with this, because in those faiths and those cults, faith, it's a hilarious word. spare the rod, spoil the child is really so that's capital punishment 24/7, right?
Yeah. I mean, by the time your child is 12 to 18 months, they have to be sitting quietly without fidgeting within a 3-hour service. If they're not, you go and you spank them. We were told my 9-year-old, he was 18 months old, and we were sitting in the sanctuary, and he was fidgeting. I mean, he's 18 months old. I mean, he's not jumping up and down. Like, he's sitting down and he's just kind of moving just a little like this, a little like that. And we were tapped on the shoulder and hauled aside and said that if we don't get him under control, he's going to be a rebellious teenager because he was fidgeting like this at 18 months old. So the ways we had to discipline, we were kicked out of my
totally realistic. That's a cult that knows a lot about parenting right there.
Oh yeah. I mean, they talk about parenting books, and the only parenting book you need is, the Bible and William Branham's way of teaching. So when coming out of it, stopping generational trauma, I became the black sheep of my family, especially with my mom, because she raised me under those teachings, and she was raised under those teachings. And I was like, fuck that. No, I'm stopping it. You don't have to like it. And I'll give you 3 options. You can come to my house and just be quiet. You can come to my house and, help around, or you don't show up at all. This is my way of running my house now. This is my way of raising my children. And the one thing that has changed my life is unconditional love, not conditional. And that was a lesson that just opened my eyes to a whole new world. I didn't know what unconditional love was. My love was based upon my actions, what I said, what I didn't say, how I dressed, how I look, what I made, how I cooked, if my baseboards were clean. I got in massive trouble, like held in like a 3-hour meeting because I had laundry hanging out of my washing machine and I had dishes in my sink because it was not becoming of a godly woman. So, now, and I joke about it, when I see my laundry in a pile, it's like the biggest fuck you to the cult. I'm like, go fuck yourselves, There's more important things in life than laundry. That was the control. I mean, if my ex-husband did not like a certain Southern gospel group, because we were only allowed to listen to Southern gospel music, he had every right to tell me I couldn't listen to it and throw it out of my earbuds or my house. We had no TV. I mean, we all began to sneak Netflix and things, and we got, in massive trouble. So I started watching a few shows, but then you felt guilty. That condemnation was like, oh shit, I'm going to hell.
That guilt is like you talk about Catholic schoolgirl guilt, evangelical cult guilt. It comes with like, hey, listen, you're playing with the afterlife here.
Oh yeah. You're playing with your eternal life. Like, you're condemned to hell, and the threat that was on our heads was the prophet William Branham said he said he went to hell. I mean, he went there and he came back and he said that he wouldn't wish hell upon his worst enemy. So you're sitting there and you're doing these things and you're like, oh my God, like he said, he wouldn't even send his worst enemy there. Oh shit, that's where I'm headed. I got to clean up my life. And that guilt, it carries with you, and you don't want to tell anybody about it because you're going to get in trouble. God's not answering your prayer. You can't hear his voice. So you're just like, oh my God, please, if we're predestinated and I was chosen before all of time, then I'm going to be in heaven, but I'm really sorry for what I have done. And you carry that shit around your entire life, every single day.
Brianna,
yes.
How many people... Like, there's 1.2 million people in the Edmonton area. You live here in Edmonton with me. I'm fascinated by this because it's just
you live with Brianna. That's hilarious.
Removed,
and you don't know her. Is she a renter? Is she in the basement?
I'm so far removed from this life and religion and everything. How many? Like, what percentage of the population in Edmonton?
700.
So 700, but how many cults do you think there are in Edmonton?
There's one in Cherry Park. There's one in the north side of Edmonton, and I do believe there's another one. But I know 2 of under William Branham for sure.
What's the guy where you got to go and you got to stare at his face for a couple of hours every week?
Here in Edmonton? I don't know.
Is that the guy that got busted for like
yes.
Oh, the COVID thing?
Yeah. No, there's a dude in Edmonton that got busted. He's like some kind of European immigrant who established some weird Christian church where he's it's all about the young girls and you got to stare at him for like 3 hours to be safe.
He's in trouble right now. They keep shutting him down.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one, but there's two for sure under William Branham. And I've actually met with someone who left the North Side church, and we talked, and we were known as extremists. She was like, we didn't touch you guys. Like, you are extremists under this umbrella. So
how weird was that, finding out that like your version of that religion was like the most extreme version?
Yeah.
You're like,
I knew that. I knew that within the cult, because we didn't associate with anybody. Like, we didn't do missions. We didn't do camp meetings. We didn't, up until 2003, other message ministers, it's called The Message is the umbrella it's called. We would have different ministers under the Message, like come in and preach. And then in 2003, that all went away. And then, the rules came down really, really hard. My daughters couldn't even wear the tulle fabric on skirts. They couldn't wear that because it was too much like a dancer. So my daughter, she was my first girl, so I always dressed her up, and it was so fun after 2 boys. I came home that night after that service and threw out all of her tutu little skirts, everything. So, the girls have to wear skirts over their snow pants. Listen, I don't think I have any photos. I don't have those phones. But when I would go snowboarding, I am a snowboarder, I would wear skirts over my snow pants on the hill. And we would be called flying nuns by people in the outside world. We have to endure this shit.
But they told you that was good for you, though, right? Like in the faith, they're like, hey, they made fun of me all day on the ski hill because I had to wear like a Quaker dress over my ski outfit, and they're like, that's good for you. They're persecuting you.
It's of God, right? Because we had to wear skirts, we couldn't wear pants. So wearing the skirt over the snow pants was of God. So we would just convince ourselves that we were the chosen bride. We knew that we were the only ones, and this is what God wanted of us. We couldn't wear white. We couldn't have white goggles. We couldn't wear white. White has a attitude when it comes to clothing and sport apparel. I know. I was sitting with my stepdad at the recreation center my son was playing soccer. And this gentleman sitting in front of us, as I was telling my stepdad the story, he turned around. He's like, I'm so sorry. He's like, I just need to interrupt you. He said, white is like the most basic of colors. He was like, it has nothing to it. And he was like, I just can't help but laugh at the absurdity of this. And I was like, I know. But when you're in it, you want to do everything you can to make it to heaven. Every time communion came once a month, you'd walk down to drink the wine and eat the bread, and you just think to yourself, I'm a chosen of God. I'm chosen of God. I am chosen of God. Even though I've done some shit in the last week, I still am chosen of God.
Yeah, but that shit might be you didn't do the laundry or the dishes.
No, that's it. Or you talked back to your husband, or you yelled at your kids, or you turned on the radio in the vehicle. And I remember
listening to Lachlan Cross getting in lots of trouble in Edmonton.
Yeah, 103.9, would come on, or we would turn it on for 1 or 2 songs, and then I can't do that. Like, it's Southern gospel only. Like, I can't listen to that. So then after we were kicked out, sitting in the van and turning on the radio and just listening to it, I was going to crash. Someone was going to crash into me. God was going to send someone to kill me in their vehicle. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
What do you listen to now, Brianna? Like, have you got a favorite artist that
Kelly Clarkson is my all-time fave. I love Kelly.
And you haven't like spontaneously combusted yet listening to Kelly Clarkson? Good for you.
I love music from like the 70s and 80s. Like, I love the Eagles. I love the Eagles. I love rock, like even modern day rock. I love a bit of emo, like everything. Like, I don't hate anything because I was only allowed to listen to one genre of music my entire life. So now I get to experiment and have an adventure with anything and everything that I want. So I love Kelly. She's probably like my top artist. I'm going to Pink this summer, which I'm I know. So excited. I went to Imagine Dragons with my son for his birthday 2 years ago. Like we go to hockey games every now and then. My boys got hockey tickets for Christmas from grandma this year. So we couldn't do sports, right? We couldn't watch sports.
That wasn't allowed? You couldn't watch a hockey game? You couldn't watch an Oiler game? No, well, I guess it's on television. You're not allowed to have a TV, right?
No, we weren't allowed a TV. Couldn't have video games. I remember my mom got us an N64, like probably Christmas of '99 or something like that. My dad took it back the next day. It was like, hell no. I remember a meeting when the Wii came out. Yeah. I was from the cult, and the leader held a meeting with 18 to 35-year-olds and was like, absolutely not. Like, we are not doing the Wii. Even though it was like exercise, people were just like, we just want it for exercise. He was like, no, because you'll get addicted. And the same as Pinterest, it's endless scrolling. And in that time, you should be doing something edifying to God, right? Cleaning, dishes, cooking. I remember getting in trouble for ordering too much skip the dishes, because I had to be cooking home-cooked meals on the table by 5, smile on my face for the husband, because your husbands have a hard day at work. Not you with the kids. That is your God-given duty, right? You are blessed to take care of the children of God. What an honor. So when he comes home, smile on, children seen and not heard, quiet please, because he needs to de-stress from his day, not your day. Don't talk about, the shit the kids got up to. When he's able to, because he's the discipline, right? He does the disciplining. If it's extreme discipline, the moms do it up until the extreme versions. That's the life that I lived, and no feelings. I'm so grateful. And I tell people all the time, I'm so grateful we were kicked out. It was the best rejection of my life. That day, to see my kids, my oldest was only 5. And all he remembers, he'd be like, Mom, we just had to sit for a very long time and I hated it. He doesn't remember much else.
That's
and
good.
That's so good. Grateful. I'm so fucking grateful for that. My others don't remember a thing. I love, like, my daughter, like, I have this picture that everyone loves of my 5 kids, and my daughter was 7 or 6 in it, and she's wearing a crop top and she's wearing shorts. And I just love that my daughters get to dress how they want to dress, and they're not sexualized. I'm like, if someone sexualizes you, you tell me, because I will fuck them up.
Whoop that ass.
Yeah. My girls got haircuts 2 weeks ago, and they went in, and I was like, what do you girls want? Like, you pick what you want. My hair was controlled for my entire life, suffered migraines, was so hot, overstimulated, but had no idea what feelings were. So I just had to, suffer through it. And my daughter, one of them, because I have 3, she took off 8 inches. She just went in. She's like, I want short hair. And the hairstylist, they always checked in with me. They're like, are you sure? And I was like, listen, it's not my hair. It's not my body. It's their bodies, their choice. So, have fun with it. I do what I want with my hair. You have fun with yours. And so I'm giving my children body
agency. Yeah, you're giving them agency. Yeah.
And stuff that I never had. And I will say, I do love being a young mom. Now, I've struggled with it because I didn't get to go to school and have the career. But now I have a career. I just landed my first career role last week, so I'm so excited.
What are you doing? Brianna, tell us what you're...
I am the executive assistant to YEG media journalist Breanna Brown.
There you go. There's the announcement. From religious cult trad wife to executive assistant to Serena Ma, the Serena Ma. It's an honor to stand and work alongside with this powerful woman who shatters ceilings in media journalism and public relations. She is making waves of change. So in the last 3-4 years, you've gone from being a trad wife, literally locked in her house, barefoot and pregnant. And pardon the paradox, the Didantic paradox, or the analogy, but I mean, you were a baby mill. You were an abused woman in a baby mill, abused by religion, abused by the familial security of the cult that you were in, and you were a baby mill. And now you're like, fuck that. I'm going to take care of these kids. I'm going to go be a woman. I'm going to go take care of this.
The Grey Nuns Hospital, Grey Nuns Hospital calls me a baby making machine. They said that to me after having all my babies. They were like, you are a baby making machine. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I am. And now shattering these ceilings. I have worked so hard. I am so proud of myself for how far I have come in the last 6 years. Showing my kids that no matter what life throws at us, we can do this. We can absolutely succeed and thrive. And let me tell you, thriving we are. My kids are excelling in school. They are well loved. They are excelling in their sports. My mom went to pick up my kids about a month ago, and I think it was the first time she's done it. And the teacher, she was like, who are you looking for? She was waiting outside by the buses, and she was like, oh, my grandchildren. And they were like, oh my goodness, we just love your daughter. We just love your grandkids. And coming from what I did, where I was not known, nobody knew me. I was known as a brown girl. My last name is Brown. You know, my sister and I were known as the Brown Girls. No one wanted to know our name. No one took the time to know our names. To having my children use their voice, they listen. When I went to parent-teacher meetings, the teachers were like, your kids are bursting with ideas. They raise their hands. They're a part of the groups. They are not scared. They're not shy. Coming from a girl who was on the lowest status ladder rung of a cult, who nobody knew their name, to where I am now. I'll never forget my humble beginnings. I always say to people, I'm like, I'm just Bree. Like, I'm just Bree. I literally at night, I'm vacuuming and mopping and wiping bums. But I've come so far. We've come so far. And my kids have been there with me every step of the way. My oldest, I've grown up with him. He has shown me what true love is. It's like our journey is something. And I just think, you know, people are like, oh my God, you're so amazing. And I'm like, it's just my life, man. You know, nothing.
Can I say something, Brianna? I just listen, I don't know you. We've never met. I've heard your story. I live in Edmonton. So I remember when those, I saw that interview that you did with CTV, and I was like, I remember seeing that. I remember when you first got kicked out.
Yeah, you had the anti-cult blonde hair in that interview, by the way. Way to go. Yeah.
But I will say this, and this is just an observation, just on getting to know you here. I know that you said that your life started when you got kicked out, and you're thankful for that. I have a feeling that the type of person that you are and who you have become, there's no way that cult would have been able to contain you, regardless of what the circumstances were. So I just think you're an amazing person, and you sound like an unbelievable mom. And I think you should give yourself a little bit of credit, because I don't think it was the cult that kicked you out. I think it was that you got out and you became this person, and that was not going to be, they weren't going to hold you back.
You know what? I totally agree. Indomitable. I second that. Yeah. But you know what the other thing is that, and I'll tell you this, as someone who is smarter than the cult he was brought up in, smart people have this ability, you know, once they're out of the ecosystem, once they're out of the actual grind, to be able to go, yeah, none of that makes any sense. Like, and the other thing was, I don't know about you, when I was out, and I'm apostate. That's what they would call you. You know how to screw them over from the inside out.
I thought that had something to do with the.
No, that's prostate. It's totally different.
Okay. So, now that makes more sense. Thank you for clearing that up.
Apostate.
You kept saying that. I'm like, why are you always doing that?
I understand the full apologetics of that religion, all the cults, the denominations, sects, as extreme as they are. They're all about one thing and one thing only, which is, how do we get these people to rely on us? How do we get these people to believe this craziness without any proof? And on top of it, how do we get them to give us their money? And how do we control them out of that? How do we get them to figure out that we're in charge of them and they have no agency over their life? And I'm telling you something, the parallels that you talk about right now, and I see it in politics. I know you do too. You see these people coming out of your faith and that old faith, that whole idea that, no, we need the patriarchy to run Canada from now on, right? And you see people that come from the faith that you used to share, supporting Donald Trump, right? Supporting Pierre Poilievre, supporting that messaging. And I've been on this. We need to separate religion and politics in this country with Lachlan for a long time. And he hasn't, like, he gets it. He's a very bright guy. He totally understands it, but he's so far away from religion. He doesn't hear the cat calls and the dog whistles that you and I hear in politics, Bree. And you must now on the outside, you know, when you're on the inside and you're at church and they're like, we need this politician to win. Everybody go and vote for this politician in Sunday service all the time.
Oh, I will tell you, Lachlan, I was a Trump thumper. We were the biggest Trump supporters. I was telling Dean on Tuesday, I remember the first time the votes were coming in between him and Clinton, and the fear of what would happen if Clinton won. I remember it was a prayer meeting night and I was over at my ex-in-law's house and we were watching the votes coming in. And Trump was the person in the end time, the book of Revelation. Trump. I was a Trump thumping extremist. So
But isn't that what the church told you, that he was part of the second coming of Christ or something like that? Or he's chosen by God?
Not that he's like part of the second coming, but he is a main character in the orchestrating of the end of the world and the end time events. So he's a big player.
Because he is fucking destroying the world that we live in. Now it's coming together.
Yeah. When I see and hear these people, you know, who are Trumpers and MAGA and all of that, and even, you know, Pierre here and what they want to bring to Canada, I have said on Twitter, that is my cult life coming back here. That is coming here. And if we don't stop it, that's what they want. My trad wife lifestyle is what they want for women. And that's why I'm using my voice and being like, absolutely the hell not. So I went from, you know, Trump thumping to over here where people are like, oh, you're like a blood draining socialist. And I'm like, I know what I came from, you know? and so we were never allowed to help the homeless, the less than, you know, we weren't helped in the call, but we couldn't give back. So, you know, every year on November 17th, it's called Bree Day. It was November 17th was the first day 3 years ago now that I went on my first ever business trip. And so we marked it, my best friend and I marked it as Bree Day. So on the first anniversary of Bree Day, he was like, what do you want to do? And at first I was like, let's just, you know, dinner or something. Then I was like, no, I want to give back. So every year, and it's grown, I go out and I make up bags of items and we go downtown and we deliver them to the homeless. You know, it has a, you know, hot dog from Costco, a drink, lotion, lipstick or lip chap, a winter item, you know, a nice scarf. So every year it's getting bigger and bigger. And I remember growing up, driving by, my mom would put up her window and we were scared to walk by them. And now it's like, these are members of our community. And so I have taught my kids, we talk about it all the time. I talk politics with my kids. I talk about where I've come from and what we need to be. And we were extreme racists. I hold myself accountable. You know, I was under that.
You were brought up to be racist, because that's another thing in the church, right? It's like they don't like people of color. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, there are some Indigenous people in the cult, but they have to be whitewashed, right? They take away all of their. They cannot use sage. They cannot burn. They cannot practice their culture. My best friend, one of my best friends in the cult, two of them actually are Indigenous. And I just remember the whitewashing that happened. So being able to educate myself and hold myself accountable for what I once was and what I once believed, and challenging myself and holding myself to what I want to believe in now and what I do believe in now, and how can I be a part of the change, and how can I help inspire others who came from my background to inspire change. Because my whole thinking was, if I came from that and that's what I was under, that there's got to be something on the other end of this that's not that.
Yeah, it's awesomeness. It's called awesomeness. It's called freedom. It's called agency.
Yeah.
It's called life. It's called happiness. It's called joy. It's called affection. And you touched on one thing, and it's the only thing that ever changed my life. I'm gonna get emotional talking about it. Is unconditional love, right? For your children, for your families, not being petty, not telling them that the way that they act affects you in any existential, physical, emotional, or mental way. It is, I will love you no matter what you believe, no matter where you are, no matter what you do. I will always love you. And I'm telling you, as someone that came from that church and a father who believed in corporal punishment, who said those words to me at 14 and stuck to them, it didn't just change my life, it changed my kids' lives. Changed my kids' lives, because my dad was the guy that started to break that cycle of abuse, right?
Well, and that's exactly it. And I've told my mom, I'm like, it's unconditional love for you too. It's, it's for my kids, it's for you, it's for my kids, and that will now trickle down from my kids if they choose to have children of their own, and I hope into their children as well. Like, as you said, it's a trickle down effect, but it has to start somewhere. And for you, it started with your dad. My dad condemns me to hell. So I'm really happy for you that you have a relationship with your dad. I don't. I am hated.
It's okay. I got a lot of other Christian relatives that have condemned me to hell. It's okay.
But I have been accepted and shown unconditional love by a chosen family. And my chosen family are friends on Twitter. I have an amazing group. Shout out to all of them. And they have shown me, they've come into my life, and I'm like, I'm just a brown girl. Like, and I've talked to my therapist, and she's like, no, like, you are deserving because you exist. And I'm like, are you sure? Because I haven't achieved anything. And if I don't achieve, I'm not worthy. So I want to share this with the world and help, because religious trauma is not talked about enough. It's not understood enough. Therapists, a lot of them can't even help us because they have no understanding of it. So I want to raise my voice with the collective that's out here trying to raise their voices too, and say, let's thrive and let's deconstruct. But it doesn't come without risk, and it doesn't come without saying to yourself, I have to be willing to lose everything, risk everything, to be the version of myself I was always meant to be, without control and conditioning. And you can't do that. Well, I personally believe you can't do that if you place conditions on yourself. You have to open yourself up to the absolute bare nothing of who you are and say, I'm starting here.
You know what? Being 26 coming, isn't she awesome? I love Breanna Brown.
Yeah.
I remember, and this is going to be a very cheap analogy, but I remember watching Breaking Bad for the first time 2 years ago, right? This is like years after it ended. 2 years ago, I'm like, I want to watch Breaking Bad for the first time. And everybody around me was jealous that had watched it. They're like, jealous you get to watch it.
You get to watch it again.
I can't imagine the joy you must experience in your life, trying new things, doing new things for the first time at 26, and being on that same discovery kind of
talking about music. Hearing her talk about music was awesome.
Well, I say it all the time. I get to experience life as a child, but this time I get to remember everything. I get to remember my first. You don't when you're a toddler, you forget it. But I get to experience these firsts and remember them for the rest of my life. And it's honestly, that's why I love life. I'm so optimistic. I've been called a beacon of hope, and I just radiate joy. That's what I've been told, because I've lived in hell. I survived it. There is literally nothing you could throw at me that would be like, oh, I can't do life anymore, because it's like, the anxiety that I lived with, the hell I endured, is nothing compared to anything anyone can throw at me. But bowling for the first time, drinking for the first time, pants for the first time, cutting my hair.
When you bowled for the first time, were you grossed out by how disgusting it was, like the rest of us?
You are a germaphobe. Not everyone's a germaphobe.
It was the disco lights. We weren't allowed to be under disco lights.
That's awesome.
Right? So it was so fun dancing. My kids and I have dance parties in our kitchen every single day. My oldest came over the other day and he was like, Mom, I want to teach you how to do the gritty. So now like he'll come into my room and we'll do the gritty together, or he'll do like the whole, like, I think it's like an NPC wave to me, and we'll do the NPC, wave together. Listening to my kids sing in the van to worldly music, I will never tire. We blast it at like 60 volts in my living room. My mom will stop and she's like, "Oh my God, Brianna, turn it down. You can't think." And I'm like, "We're not supposed to think. We're supposed to dance." We couldn't dance. We couldn't shake our bodies. Jewelry, earrings. My daughter has pierced ears too. My 5-year-old's wearing a shirt with the Spice Girls on it today. That was never allowed. Wearing hats. I can wear hats now. Fantastic. Going into a store and buying anything I fucking want without judgment is amazing.
I love you. I love you.
She's crazy. Look at this picture of her. She's looking all. This is her picking up her son the other night at
soccer
tryouts. Yeah, for this cult mama where sports were of the devil. My heart couldn't swell any bigger. Good luck. Send good luck, friends. He's a little ball of nerves. That's another.
Everybody needs to follow Brianna.
Everybody. Oh yeah, dude.
Go follow.
Not only do you have to follow her, you need to sub to her Substack. We need. Oh yeah,
we need her in our lives.
She's gonna change Canada and the world.
Yeah,
we're gonna pull all kinds of people out of these cults. Not a mommy blog .ca. Go and subscribe to it. Not only do you get to interact with this lovely young lady, she's not just a beacon of hope. What she does is she lays that vulnerability out, and she's like, "Hey, I live this life. Don't be embarrassed to talk about it if you came out of it too." And it's amazing when you talk about it. Like, sure, do I get people that make fun of me because I like pictures like this and I post them online? Sure, absolutely.
I retweeted that one too, though.
The one of Princess Kate coming back at Easter, dressed like Jesus.
Jesus.
But I post blasphemous humor all the time. Like I actually, on my blog, one of my latest posts is I break down an entire Facebook Christian pity party. Like I just call them out. Like I love it. Look, you can believe in it if you want. If that's what you want to do, if you do it, don't harm me. But I have every right to critique it and to post things like Kate coming out, rising from the dead after 3 days. And maybe that's Jesus's return. I mean, good for him if he is. Maybe
Jesus is Kate. Is that what you're saying? Maybe Jesus is Princess Kate. You don't know. We can't say that. If that's the case, then Jesus is also now with Pete Davidson.
That is my theory.
That's
though.
funny.
I really do hope she's with Pete Davidson. I love that so much. I either hope she rises from the dead after 3 days in the grave, or she's with Pete Davidson.
There's no gray area there.
No, I am very sarcastic. I am fluent in sarcasm.
Good for you.
Love posting blasphemous humor.
I do too, but I get in trouble for it all the time. Like, I have you heard of the Sexy Jesus calendar?
No.
Oh man, here it is. Here it is. This is a Sexy Jesus calendar. I post pictures. I post these all the time, and I think it's good. I think Jesus looks great. There he is, shirtless with a couple of fish. There he is in a sweet embrace with another doppelganger Jesus. There's him on a sawhorse making a cross. There's
the carpenter.
Laying an egg, putting out a burning bush fire, just lounging on the beach. There's him as a lifeguard in the clouds. There's him with a watermelon. Him with a fence. And my favorite, that's a little
that one. You use that one all the time.
I do. Yeah.
I've used that one too. Okay, the thing is, my life was controlled by this belief for 26 years.
Yeah,
correct.
My life was, like I said, I cried in the mirror every night. I questioned myself. I hated who I was. And I would look at myself in the mirror with tears in my eyes. And I knew deep down, I was like, who you see is not who we are. Like this girl inside is not who's in the mirror. I don't know how we're going to get to her. I don't know how it's going to come to be, but who you are right now is not who you are. And So that whole belief, Jesus Christ, and I endured abuse at the hand of it. I was under it for 26 years, and then a whole other year after that struggling with my belief and all of that. So I will post blasphemous humor when it comes to it, because
I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you and with you. There you go.
Yeah. And so that's my kids, you know, like I said, I will fight for your religion. If you want to believe in it, I will fight for that right for you. You use it for you. Don't use it on me. Do not come to me and harm me with it. You know, my whole pity party I broke down was, why do non-Christians have to, you know, make fun of us, and why are they harming us? And like in the whole piece on Facebook they wrote was like, you know, if you come at me for my belief, I pray for you on Judgment Day. Consequences coming your way. And I was like, who exactly is harming who here? Like, I am for you to believe what you want to believe. Yeah. I'm not harming you, but you are judging me. You are saying that I'm going to burn in the pits of hell if I don't believe. You are saying I'm going to suffer consequence. I'm going to suffer on Judgment Day. So who exactly is harming who here? Yeah. It's not, I'm not harming you. Your belief, you're putting your harm onto me. And so I told my kids, you know, you have friends who believe in it, and we will support that as long as they're not going to harm you. You know, and if you are happy and let me live my life, I'm happy to let you live your life. You know, that's what I want for the world, is like, live how you want. And that's, you know, feminism is, if you want to be a trad wife, be a trad wife. If that is what you want to do, 100%, as long as you're not being abused, as long as your eyes are wide open, as long as it's your choice. It wasn't my choice. That's the difference. My choice is to be a career woman as a single mom of 5. And I'm achieving. And I am, as I said on Instagram yesterday, I am kicking motherfucking ass. I was just hired by Breanna Ma. I have a very successful blog that continues to grow. I have 5 amazing kids that I'm raising on my own and that are incredible. I am kicking motherfucking ass. And all these people that come at me and say, statistics show kids of single moms and you should be this, and I just say, go fuck yourselves, because I am achieving, I am succeeding, and it's not stopping now. It's just, we're just going to continue to succeed, and my kids see this, and I love it. I love life. I absolutely love life. I'm going to a bar tonight. There you go. You know,
go shake it.
Yeah.
Go shake it. Go feel dangerous. Go feel dangerous tonight. Yeah, go look your best. Go feel dangerous. Go shake it up. Have a couple cocktails, maybe a Prosecco. I don't know what your poison is. You might have a couple of screwdrivers, maybe a mojito. Maybe try an old fashioned. You know why? Because you can.
I love whiskey. Whiskey is my thing of choice.
Sorry. Old fashioned then. Whiskey and bourbon.
An old fashioned, yeah.
There's really nothing I'm not a fan of. I'm trying, everything is new. There are things that I haven't tried yet, you know? Everything is new, and I'm open to trying all these new things. Tomorrow I'm going to a cocktail birthday party with a bunch of friends that I've met on Twitter. Like, it's just, my life is so great. I'm going, you know, I was invited to a birthday party beginning of April. I'm going to like the NDP showcase of all of their candidates. You know, my life is just so great. I love it. I love living it. I can't wait to see where it goes. And I want to instill this joy into everybody.
Listen, I want you to, and we want to help you. So I'm just happy that you spent an hour with us today to talk about your life and where you came from and where you're going. And where you're going is way more important than where you came from. But where you came from justifies where you're going. Yeah, you did. I've been trying to tell you, religion's terrible, especially the Abrahamic faith. Especially
I needed that positivity. It has nothing to do with my religion or anything. I remember, like, I've had moments where I've been, anyway, like, I've made comments about religion. I have a very vivid memory of saying something on the air one time on my radio show, Brianna. And the people that owned the company that I worked for were very, very religious. And the boss came running up to the window and was doing, like, freaking out. And I got hauled into an office, and they were like, you can't say things like religion is the plague on humanity on the air. Like, they were terrified. And the fear in this person's eyes was like, I was so shocked by it. So I'm coming at this from a very different perspective because I have no idea how, like, what you went through, because it's never been part of my life. So I'm fascinated by these conversations.
People were shocked that it was happening in Sherwood Park, Alberta. Like, it's located right behind the rec center here called Millennium Place. Like, it's right.
And it's not a small church. 700 people is a fucking big church.
It's a big.
You know, people were like, "Are you sure this isn't in the States? You know, it's not in a compound. It's not, you know, off to the side." I'm like, "No, it's in the middle of suburbia,
right under everyone's nose."
Like, it's happening right here. And people were shocked. Like, they were like, "There's no way." And I'm like, "No, it's in your backyards, people. It's right here." When you are sitting there watching your kid play hockey or kick a soccer ball, there are kids behind there enduring what I went through. That is what's happening. And that's why I say, like, cults are everywhere. It's not just on a screen and someone sharing a cult story that's happening in Utah. It's happening in Sherwood Park, Alberta. It's happening in Edmonton, Alberta. It's happening in big cities. And that's why I'm raising awareness with it. And, you know, as you were saying about your boss, you know, you can't do that with religion. That's where I come in, and I'm just like, like, I speak out about it because I lived it. I know the harm. I'm not afraid to talk about it. I'm a writer. I've done public speaking. I love to do it. And
I read a couple of your pieces this morning.
Unbelievable writer. Yeah.
I'm very impressed. You've got a real skill there, Breanna.
Thank you.
Can I just kind of feed into that whole thing? You know, I find that to be the grossest part of what we've been brainwashed to accept as unbelievers or non-believers or secular people, is that we're not allowed to talk about religion. We're not allowed to laugh about it. We're not allowed to say, "Hey, we have a problem with it, and here's why." In any corporate setting, to your point, any public setting, like, I have been reamed by business partners going, "You can't post the sexy Jesus stuff online. You'll upset all the Christians.
Yeah.
And they need to spend money." And I'm like, "No, that's not why you're asking me to stop posting it. You're asking me to stop posting because it offended you. You, right?" And here's the catch. Is the reason why they take extreme umbrage is because once you start picking at that scab, you realize there's nothing underneath it. And they don't want anybody knowing that. They don't want anybody knowing that they're abusive ideologies. They don't want anybody knowing about the Breanna Browns of the world, how weird they are, the sinner's prayer, the tithing. They don't want to know about the Ponzi scheme behind it all. They don't want to know that the elders and the deacons of churches are the people that are minting their pockets with money, telling everybody you got to give us your money. It's like Amway for your soul. And so
it's the MLM.
It is.
And it's also, when you're in it and you hear this, or when you're first out of it and someone tells you, like, you were a part of, like, this scheme, it's not easy to take. Because, I mean, for my mom, she was in it for over 50 years. Wow. That is half a life. If you live to 100, of, like, what was I in? Like, are you sure? Like, no, there's no way.
Is that what kept you going back and kept her going back too? Is the fear of knowing that might be you, right?
It's the fear of living, because, like, the whole world, the outside world, has been forced down your throats that it's going to burn. Members there pray for you to die if you leave. You're going to hell. It's a paranoia, to be quite honest. And a lot of people, to find your footing, I wrote about it on one of my blogs, finding your footing when you come out of a cult is not easy. Like I said, I left with a kindergarten box of supplies from my son's school, and all that we knew in the cult, I knew nothing of the outside world. Absolutely fuck all. So it was 26 years old. I have a box of supplies. I'm a mom of 4. And all of a sudden I'm sitting in my house thinking, what the hell do I do now? What do I do? My whole life was the cult. 3 nights a week, picnics, weekend plans. You're excommunicated from your entire friend group that you had. You can't call them. You can't talk to them. Where the fuck are you going to go? So for a lot of people, it is to find your footing. You can't. You don't believe in therapy, right? Therapy was told it is of the devil.
Well, because it's science and education, right? Education.
You're not turning to that.
Yeah.
So there's one of 2 options that many of them face. You either go back begging, as I said, crying, saying you'll never make a mistake again. You promise not to. You promise to give your all. They give you another chance. Or for many, unfortunately, they take their lives. The amount of suicides is very high. And it continues. That's why when I was on Real Talk with Ryan, he asked me, he said, how have you gone from 0 to 100 in literally 60 seconds? Because at that point, I'd only been out for 3 years, I do believe. And it goes back to my vow. My vow to myself, where I said, I don't have one more second to give to this. If this is what I came from, what's on the other side? So I got pregnant with my 5th baby in October. I joined a pregnant online group, and there was a group called Hot Topics, and it was women from around the world. And they would just talk about everything happening from politics to like what's happening in their kitchen to their marriages. And I was very conservative. I was still a Trumper. And I remember like calling out these, lefties and being like, oh my God, you nuts. And then they friended me on Instagram, and I'm still friends with 5 of them today. We've never met in person because they're all around the world. Those women have watched me from absolute 0 to where I am now. And just the other day, one of them messaged me. They were like, watching you grow the last 6 years has been something out of a movie. Like, it has been amazing. If it wasn't for those women and that Hot Topic group where they challenged my belief, and honestly, it was with an A&W burger. A&W came out with a veggie burger, and someone was like, go and try it. You don't have to be vegan. You don't have to be a vegetarian. Just go and try it. It's delicious. And I replied to her and said, go fuck yourself. I am, meat is on this planet to eat. I'm going to eat meat. I'm not going to eat fake shit. A year later, after I had done more education and deconstructing of myself, I went back to her on the forum. My baby was born at that time. And I said, I apologize. I am so sorry. But that one post changed my life. It was about the A&W veggie burger, and the rest of it.
Well, I don't. Awesome. The vegan thing, that's where we're going to part ways.
That's another cult.
Story. Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm a vegan. They just said that if you are or you're vegetarian, it doesn't matter. Just go and try it.
Yeah.
But I put my foot in the ground and said, no, meat is here, because I was raised, William said meat is here to kill. Animals are here to kill, for your eating pleasure. So I put that out to her and was like, go fuck yourself. And she was like, I just asked you to try it. Like, I'm not saying you have to.
You know what's amazing though? That's such a microcosm for the things that we see online today, specifically on Twitter, where people from the alt-right or the Christian right or the faith-based right look at things like vegan burgers like it's an attack on them, on their faith, right?
Yeah, that's how it felt.
Wow.
It felt
yeah.
But I realized, and it hung on to me, like my conscience over it ate me. And a year later, I went back to her and I was like, I'm sorry. But that challenge from her, where she stopped and she challenged me in my thinking, changed everything. And it was because I got pregnant with my 5th baby, joined that group, met these incredible women, and they have been with me on this journey through social media for the last 6 years. And if it wasn't for them, yeah.
Well, it wasn't for those woke chicks trying to ram a veggie burger down your throat on Facebook,
we wouldn't have the Brianna that we have today.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? And actually, I want to ask you a favor. Brianna, what do you call November 17th?
Bree Day.
Bree Day. So when you have Bree Day, when you're leading up to it, please, can you let us know so that we can find a way to help you? And I'll even go out with you if that's allowed. And I'd like to be a part of that.
She's not a cult anymore. You're just a human. If she wants to meet you for coffee,
maybe this is something she does by herself or just with her kids or something. If Bree Day is open to the public and other people can get involved with your you're helping out the homeless, I would love to be a part of that.
Thank you. Yeah, my hope is we don't my best friend and I didn't know where it was going to go, but he's always said it's going to be something someday. So I would love that. Absolutely. The more the merrier, the bigger the better.
Awesome.
And now with what's happened in YAG yesterday coming out from our counselors and the Boyle Street and Bissell Center, support for our most vulnerable is needed. So that is greatly appreciated. So when it approaches this year, I will definitely reach out. Thank you.
Yeah, you're not going to find a better community-minded guy in your city and a more stand-up individual than Lachlan. And it's funny, you came out of that cult which said we're the chosen ones, we're the better people, and then you realize that they don't feed homeless people, and you run into a guy like Lachlan who's just a guy, right? He's just a guy doing his best, who feels empathy, human empathy for other people. It's really simple to see who the chosen ones really are. Guys like Lachlan, people like you, Breanna, chosen to serve humanity and people, which is what you're doing. I want everybody who's ever struggled. I want everybody who's suffered from any kind of religious trauma. I want anybody who's got PTSD, who's coming out of any of these issues. If you identify with anything Breanna said, I want you to connect with her on her Substack. Okay, we've mentioned it a couple of times. Substack for Breanna Brown is not a mommy blog. You can go and type in your name, give your email address, and it is tremendous. You will get value here because she's an excellent writer as well, and she's super, super honest. Some of her posts are great. Dear Me, a letter to my future self. Timing is everything. Without COVID-19, I wouldn't be anything. It's very honest, very raw. And this one killed me. There is no greater hate than Christian love. So please go and identify with this young lady. We're all on this journey to get a little bit better, and it's easy for us to point fingers at all those people. But there are a lot of people that we call those people that need the same conversion experience you've had, Breanna.
Well, right? And I was one of them.
Yeah.
That is my truth. I was one of them. I'm who you see today, this socialist, woke, empathetic, generational trauma stopping, kind,
veggie burger eating.
This woman you see today is not who I was. I was one of them, and that is why I want my story to help them. I want my story to help, even if you are in any way struggling, to say there is hope. When hope is unthinkable, there is hope. And if I can be that beacon for you, I would love to be. My whole initiative from day one in 2020, when I started my first blog, was if it just helps one person, then it's all worth it. And that still holds true to today. So
can we have you back on the show?
Yeah.
Sure.
And if you're going to start a podcast, let's do it together. We'll help you with that.
I am so busy right now. A podcast.
Oh, no, not now. Not now. You get through your business and your day and your breed day and your pub nights and your cocktails and your mini skirts and your disco and your hockey games and your concerts. You go enjoy your life. But if at any time that you need any help, we're here. Love your story. I think, and it's very personal for me, obviously, because to a much different extent, I identify with what you say. You stopped me in my tracks this week, and I appreciate it. And if we can share this story with more people, we will. But man, oh man, just an absolute pleasure to have you light us up for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I hope I did. And I do have to run and pick up my toddler now. She is done preschool for the day. But it was a pleasure to talk to you both. And if I sparked some joy in your life for the rest of the day and turned your mood around, then I've done my job.
You have.
You did.
You have. I was really pissy to start this show, so thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I was pissy.
Well, I hope you're not anymore. And I'm going to enjoy my drinks tonight. And you guys have a good rest of your day.
You too. Talk to you soon. Breanna Brown. Notamomyblog.ca. How much of a trip is she? Huh?
That was unbelievable.
Intense.
Yeah.
That was intensity in 10 cities, as Mike Myers in Wayne's World says. Live in Budokai. That was, and I'll tell you something, dude. I've been telling you about this.
She's going to change the world that we live in.
She is, just by being herself. Dude, what hides behind political rhetoric is what she just ran away from.
What hides behind the soccer field in Sherwood Park?
A cult.
Yeah, I am so disconnected.
Does that bug you because you're there? Are you like, holy shit, this is like in suburbia in my hometown?
Well, listen, you hear stories, and I'd even heard Brianna's story. Like I said, I saw that news You sent me a clip of something like a news story shortly after she left, or she was kicked out, and they did a story on her. I remember seeing that on TV, probably watching it while I was having dinner. It just doesn't connect with me because, like I said, I have this disconnect with religion. I've always sort of felt I've always had a problem with religion. We don't need to go down that path, but I've always felt I think people need something to believe in. I just don't like the structure of religion and what it does to the
humans.
Yeah. So to hear that person's story and to know that there's hundreds of other women in the community that I live in right now that are dealing with what she's dealing with, or that she dealt with, that she's escaped, is just unbelievable to me. Like,
yeah, and it's everyday life for a lot of those people.
We didn't get into it, Dean, but I mean, the brainwashing, the psychological abuse that she has escaped from it's remarkable that she is where she is.
You see it today. I'll tell you where you see it the most. The psychological brainwashing from that age, bringing those people up to become warriors on behalf of any political, religious ideology. You see it today when you show up to a parental rights rally. You see it today when you say you don't like trans people and they're mentally ill. That's what hides. That's the fuel that pushes those conversations. It is the lie that is told to these brainwashed people, and you got to go and fight for us out there politically. Now, there are different versions of that in denominations of Christian sects, right? Yeah. So not all of them are as extreme. Not all of them are as
more than
wacky.
Anything, what people are dealing with if they're involved in something like that is this idea that if they will lose everything that they have, their community that they have, regardless of how dysfunctional it is. Yeah. And then this other side of the coin that Breanna painted a picture of is this control. And that control is based in money, right? Somebody is profiting from this, and this ability that they have to control these people's lives benefits them financially, which makes it even sadder.
The dude that I'm trying to think his name, the dude that runs that church that she left. I can't remember his name. I had it here. Terry Sproul, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Multimillionaire. Everybody else in that church that has to give 15% of everything they make, and then every 15% of every increase. Yeah. Poor as fuck. And so when you leave people poor as fuck and they're on the dole for your community and their money and their food, and their daily rigidity, their operating system, it's a cult. It is an abusive, shitty, awful cult that is based, as you pointed out, on one thing only: going out and converting other people to come in with their bank cards and their cash so they can put them in the envelope every Sunday or Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. Sometimes you go to church like 5-6 days a week, and then they become radicalized people because you know what they attach to it. You heard her say it. And this is the thing that bothers me the most about any kind of overt religious person in politics is they swear an oath that stands above everything they're willing to ruin their entire life for. And they're also willing to stay ignorant. As she pointed out, we're not educated in the world. We're not taught math, science, world history, none of that shit. None of it. Yeah. And so you've got people that are just out there doing damage to this country through politics, but that's where it starts. Anyway, fascinating. Breanna Brown, really appreciate her coming.
Go follow her.
Yeah, she's incredible. Anyway, time for the locker room retro replay of the day. Lachlan Cross and his group of misfits, legendary radio show. What do you have for us today, sir?
Today, we'll give you a little bit of an insight into the relationship that I have with my beautiful wife. And this is brought to you by Ardent Roof Systems. The locker room retro replay of the day. The locker room retro replay.
Grant, I'll get you to read the post, okay? This is what I put up on Facebook yesterday.
Lachlan Cross updates his Facebook status and writes, "I'm doing something right now that'll make a lot of people in my life very happy. Vague booking." So everyone was commenting like therapy, showering, stuff like that.
Anger management. No one guessed. Here's the audio of me telling my wife what I was doing yesterday. Okay, here it is.
I had my hearing test today.
How did that go?
Good. she was telling me that in some situations, like long-term relationships, women will alter.
This is a bullshit story.
They will alter the register of their voices.
This is a bullshit story.
In an effort to.
This is a bullshit story.
To drive their men crazy, so that it's probably you.
I knew it was bullshit.
Not me.
By the time you said the second sentence.
So my hearing's perfect.
Perfect.
What did they actually say?
This is your problem. I need.
They actually say.
I need hearing aids.
Do you actually?
A couple months ago, you tried to tell us you had perfect hearing, and your wife overheard it. She was like, "Whoa, are you kidding me?"
To be fair, it's not an old age thing. This is, I probably needed hearing aids years ago. I had some major hearing damage when I was a kid.
Are you going to get them?
No.
So is what you're saying is you're not always ignoring us just for the sake of ignoring us. You just can't hear us.
No, I can't
I know
hear.
a couple signs I can do for you.
Don't do that sign.
Hello.
You need to learn how to read lips.
This is, you guys are gonna love this part. So after she did the hearing test, she started asking me a bunch of questions about my past and asked me if I had ever been diagnosed with ADHD.
I was being diagnosed by my hearing technician.
I loved her reaction. I love Deb's reaction. That's a bullshit story.
She knew right
That's
away.
A bullshit story over and over. Well, of course, she knew it right away. She's like, I just came from the doctor.
I started
it's all your
recording
fault.
too. As soon as we got in the car, I hit record on my phone just to make sure to get a reaction, because I was gonna tell her that it was her fault that my hearing was fine.
Yeah. No, it's a good thing she's like
Here's the
100
thing:
times smarter
my
than
wife
you.
is at work today.
Yeah.
And listen, I admit, I had really bad. I was a really sick kid until I got my tonsils out. I had bad fevers when I was a kid, and I've got 30% hearing loss in one ear and 15% hearing loss in another ear. And over time, it's gotten worse, obviously, because I'm in my 50s now.
Oh, yeah, you're old.
But my wife, and this is something that I've tried to hint at, like, she has had a problem with my hearing for years and brings it up on a fairly regular basis. But the old bird also, hers is starting to slip. And trust me, guess how that goes over when I mention that.
I love that. Yeah.
Like,
Dude,
you know
all
what?
you have to do is start mumbling on purpose. All you have to do to make her go crazy. This is
I
like,
love my wife, but
yeah, I know. This is
she's
geriatric
also
gaslighting.
losing her fucking hearing.
Yeah. Dude, gaslight her. Gaslight away. Geriatric gaslighting. That's what you call. So you just walk by her and go, "Hey, Deb." Yeah. And it was,
Yeah. Why is Locke not here today? Well,
"Hey, Deb." Yeah, honey. I just want. What's that? You can't hear me. You need hearing aids. Look who's going deaf too.
I'll let you know how that goes.
Yeah, do. I know you won't do it.
Oh shit, that's funny. All right, we should sign off because this has been a long one. That was.
hour and a
I'm
half.
glad we did that though. I'm glad
I am
we
too.
did.
We've got a couple of shows tomorrow. Obviously, we got one in the morning with your boy Stacy Disatel, our new friend at Arden Roofing Systems. We're going to talk about his golf tournament. We can talk about you. We'll talk about business. So we'll get to the Shohei Ohtani news tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which is big news. Like, it's Pete Rose-esque. Gambling.
Also, are you going to watch Roadhouse, the new Roadhouse? It's on
I'm
Prime
gonna watch
tonight.
I'm going to watch Roadhouse because Jake Gyllenhaal's in it. My girlfriend was showing me pictures last night. She goes, "He looks great." I'm like, "Doesn't look great. Looks
He
bad."
may have worked out a bit for that role.
Yeah,
Did you
no,
see
yeah.
that?
Yeah,
Jesus.
so I'm going to watch it on my own. I won't be watching it with her because that'll be embarrassing. But I want to see Conor McGregor full Monty in that thing today.
Oh
He's
yeah,
apparently totally naked.
I don't think he shows the hammer. From what
Oh,
I
he does.
heard,
Apparently he
Oh,
shows
does
the
it?
dink. Yeah, apparently he shows
Okay.
his wiener.
I guess
Not that
it's
he hasn't
impressive.
showed it like 1,000 times. Yeah, dude.
It must be muggy where they filmed. Little throwback humor there.
And then we'll
All right.
get to Pierre Poilievre's disastrous week. I can't be bothered with the culture of politics, but man,
that's what I've known about you. You sure shy away from
the
conversations
culture.
about
Yeah.
Okay,
Anyway, we'll get to
all
some
right.
embarrassing videos of Pierre Poilievre next week. We'll do that tomorrow right here on the show. That is Lachlan Cross, at Lachlan Cross on Twitter is where you can find him, find everything he does at the Locker Room YouTube page, Locker Room merch page. You can go and support him, buy a couple of articles of clothing, walk around feeling real good about yourself, and Lachlan will feel good too. And of course, he is always brought to you by our friends at Ardent Roofing Systems. Lachlan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon. ArdenRoofingSystems.com. Go there today. Sign up for their golf tournament. Stollery's Children's Hospital is what it goes to support, and they've raised tens of thousands of dollars for that beautiful institution. So there you go. Thanks to Ardent Roofing Systems, and thanks to our other partners as well, including but not limited to our friend Colin at Cantork. Cantork makes rugged, hardworking torque wrenches, Canada's leading industrial tool experts, the very best in sales and service, offering solutions under one roof. Thanks to our friends at Cantork. Also, thanks to our friends, go to cantork.com for more information. Muse Massage Spa. Hey, Torontonians, they've got a deal for you if you DM them for many of their socials. They'll give you a big deal. It's called the Dean Blundell deal, and it'll be discreet, and you can go and try out their wares. Therapeutic as well. Sexologists, they've got a great podcast called Muse on the Mic. The Patreon version's uncensored. You'll love it. Join their podcast on YouTube as well. Again, brought to you by our friends at Muse Massage Spa, 1290 Finch Avenue West, Unit 13, Toronto, Ontario. Also brought to you by Gitch, engineered for any level of performance, as well as everyday life. Buy 3, get 1 free. Use promo code GITCH3 at checkout. Great underwear. The best. To be honest with you, boxer briefs, pouch in the front. You'll love them. Can't miss with them as well. Promo code GITCH3 will get you a free pair. Just pump it in on your checkout. There you go, friends. And also brought to you by factcheck.io. It is disinformation killing software, and they are ready to go. They've got a beta test they'd like you to sign up for. They want you to test out. They want you to try and break their software. A lot of people try and do that. They literally told me that yesterday. Yeah, we want people to join the beta test, see if they can break the software. We want to work out all the bugs. To test disinformation, origin, sentiment, and value. Doesn't matter where it's from. If it has a URL, they're going to check, give you the proper sources. If they're right, they're right. If they're not, they'll tell you that you're not. And they'll give you the sources to embody the actual truth that you're looking for. And then you'll be able to weaponize that as you see fit. It's pretty cool. Join their beta test team if you would like to kill disinformation in Canada and around the world. Go to factcheck.io. Sign up for their beta program today. That's the best way to support them, and check it out. Their beta test is bananas. Bananas, I tell you. Anyway, thanks, everybody. Appreciate you being here today. We'll be back tomorrow. I'd say 3 o'clock. Yeah, I think we're back at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, everything we do, wherever you get your fine podcast. Dean Blundell Show on YouTube, Crier Media on YouTube as well. Anywhere you download your audio podcast, Google, Apple, Spotify, etc. Have a great day, everybody. See you tomorrow. Bye.